watching and listening to Breakfast with Angela and Martin.
Let's take a look at a few of today's front pages with the time at, 20 to 8 now. In the Telegraph, Richie Sunak says his wife and children are his emotional motivation for his tough stance on crime.
And the Express says this Christmas we'll be living on a wing and a prayer as turkey prices soar by 17.5% following an avian flu outbreak.
The Daily Star leads on the most important story of the day, I don't think. World Cup stars in Qatar are apparently waxing their legs to cope with the heat.
The great hairline. Here we go. So it's time to go through that. And
the great Angela.
The broadcasting legend.
Exactly.
Used to doing hair buttons for the Daily Star. Wonderful.
Anyway. It sums up the story. World Cup stars are waxing their legs to cope with the heat.
Now they know how women feel.
Exactly.
So joining us now to go through the papers, Olympic legend Chris Akabusi and author and broadcaster, no showbiz reporter.
Thank you.
Seth Tachi. Right, so let's start with this story. Here we go. I think we need to deal with this. And so this is basically a story that to keep themselves cool.
Yes.
England players are shaving their legs. Chris, let's start with
not
you.
Not shaving, darling. They're waxing.
They're waxing it all off.
Much more in tune with their feminine side. So, Chris, as a former, very fast-moving Olympic athlete, did you ever wax yourself?
Not a prayer. Not a prayer. Now, we used to wear speed suits and leggings,
of course, yes.
and that would be aerodynamic, and it gets you to the cut and thrust. But the idea, I thought that hair has got a twofold. On the one hand, it keeps you cool. Yeah, so it deflects the heat. It keeps the heat off, and in the winter, it's supposed to keep the heat in. So I'm not quite sure of the scientific reasoning behind it. But there you go.
Well, I'm glad they're actually getting a wax, because then they know how women feel, because we're always forced to wax, shave our legs in all situations, and this is...
Who's forcing you?
Oh, society.
Oh, okay.
Hairy women is never embraced. Never embraced. They want the legs hidden if it was quite hairy, but now the sports stars will feel they'll be all metrosexual.
I must confess that I have waxed.
Very good.
Yeah.
Where have you waxed?
Am I allowed to say?
Yes.
Yeah, backsack and crack.
Oh.
I should tell you.
You said it now.
I did it. I did it for a magazine feature when I was back on the Lads Mags.
Yeah.
And let me tell you this: my demands upon women were greatly reduced. The torture of that myself. Let's bring this show back to a serious note, please.
Yes, Chris, let's talk about this story in the Times today about the Metropolitan Police Chief wanting to sack officers. He says it should be easier. And why? I suppose my question would be, why is it so difficult if they're no good at their jobs?
Well, I mean, of course, in the last sort of 20, 30 years, there's been ever-increasing protocols put in place for HR to try to reduce your workforce if they're not performing. But I do, in a way, feel for Sir Mark Rowley when he's got this challenge. What he's saying is that 3,000 Met officers are not fully deployable because of performance concerns, mental health or physical issues. And that must be a real tough thing when you're trying to run a police force that's actually going to be efficient and effective. From a sporting background, you'd never have a sporting team where you know that 10-20% of that team cannot perform. Now, I know this is not a sporting context, but I do understand this. Now, on the other side, it's not easy to be a police officer on the beat. You can get called to 3 or 4. I mean, I did a presentation with the police force, and you can do 3 or 4 hair-raising incidents. You can be 1 minute you can be a death incident on the road. Next, you can be physical abuse in a home. Next, you are an accident emergency. There's so many things. So the mental strain on our officers is immense. But I understand what he's saying. If they're undeployable and cannot work over a given period of time, you've got to usher new people in to do the job, because it's a real tough, demanding job.
It is a tough job, and we should actually never downplay the role that police play in this country.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we want a police force that is protecting us, the British public,
100%,
we want them to be
At the best, at the best. You know, again, when I joined the army, and joined the police force, there was real tough conditions to be part and parcel of the team.
We're going to come back to you in a moment, and Steffi, forgive us